This video is going to be a film study look at Julian Love, the Seattle Seahawks safety that I think is extremely underrated and underappreciated, in fact. He did get recognition, thankfully, as being the 10th best safety in the NFL by a survey, apparently, of NFL scouts, coaches, and I guess general managers. I'm not exactly sure who was surveyed. I think that sounds about right. I don't do a good job of ranking players, to be honest with you, and as such, I don't really participate in those discussions. I do think that Love has got to be talked about in that regard. I would have probably thought somewhere in the 8, 7, 8 range would be more accurate, but again, I'm not a person who goes around ranking players, number one, because I think it's oftentimes disrespectful. And number two, I don't think I'm very good at it as well. We're going to have some film here to show of Love, generally from 2023. I'll be honest with you. I think the thing that strikes me is his coverage against tight ends into the boundary. And I'm talking about in man. Not utilized as much in 2024, in my opinion. He played a little bit more deep safety from my recollection. I don't, access metrics or any data tracking websites to confirm that. That's just based on my observation of the film comparing 2022 to 2023. You can kind of tell when looking at the film from either season in Seattle and prior to that with the Giants as well, that he spent so much time playing corner at Notre Dame in college because he's extremely comfortable in these situations. This is Hayden Hurst, who I think is a pretty talented and physical, big, strong tight end, and down in here into the boundary, which is generally where Julian Love has played throughout his career, whether it was in New York or with the Seahawks. He's got great awareness of the types of routes that receivers run, or in this case, tight ends, and also the timing to be able to go up and get this ball, get a pass defensed. I'll show two plays from this game against Carolina, I think early in the 2023 season. Love is a little bit off screen to our left here, but you can see Hurst is spot shadowed. Quarterback actually happens to be Andy Dalton here, and I just love the timing on this that Love utilizes. He actually tries to intercept this pass. Rewind it a little bit and let you guys see it. He actually tries to intercept this, almost tip it back to himself. Unsuccessful, but it just illustrates to me that this is a player who, no matter where they put him, when he's called upon, when he's targeted, if you will, Julian Love is up to the task. I also like his ability to burst and come downhill, basically recognize things in front of him. Once again, into the boundary, Hayden Hurst targeted on this little kind of angled hook route, or really what is a snag concept with the running back running out into the flats, the tight end running a snag, and oftentimes the number two receiver running a smash concept. But in any case, Julian Love breaking downhill for a pass deflection. He's also got the wherewithal or the body awareness to go around Hurst and not pick up a defensive penalty. We'll let you see it from the end zone angle. Both of those guys are lined up off screen to our left, so we can't really get an idea of the type of route that Hurst runs or how wide he was. We saw it from the All-22 originally. It's the timing here to be able to go get this ball. This is a spectacular football player. I don't know what his ranking was previously as far as the top safeties, according to the article that ESPN put out. Like I said, he was 10th. Kyle Hamilton was first. I think Brian Branch was second. But in terms of his play on the field, first of all, he's got great awareness. He seems to get everybody lined up pre-snap as well. Really like his timing on these challenges, these two plays specifically. But from a production standpoint, he has 12 career interceptions, also 40 passes defense. Now, in the last two seasons in Seattle, he's got 10 and 12 PDs along with 7 picks for a cap hit of around $6 million, I believe, in 2024. That's a pretty good deal, if you ask me. 2025 cap hit, I believe, is also $6 million, and Seattle holds a potential out after this season, which I really just don't see any reason for them to go that route. You'll oftentimes see him communicating with teammates, either outside corners or oftentimes communicating with the outside linebacker edge defender in front of him to the boundary. He's involved in a lot of turnovers. This is, I believe, fourth quarter. I think Seattle is down 20-17 to the Browns at home in 2023. I could be wrong. It's actually Jamal Adams that gets the PD here to knock this up in the air. And then it's, of course, Julian Love getting the interception, a gimme, a cheapie, if you will. I think the next one, some people may categorize in the same way, but what I like about it is when Julian Love is matched up against certain wide receivers, he understands the threat that they offer in terms of long speed. Here he is matched up with Brandon Ayuk into the boundary, and San Francisco has certainly done a lot to try to get this matchup accomplish from an 11 personnel setup. They've got nickel defender to the field. So once they take the running back and motion him out of here, the 49ers, San Francisco, know that the safety and corner down there, if they're in man, are going to have to match up. In this case, the outside corner goes with McCaffrey, and then the tactical choice that Seattle made at that time was to put Love on Brandon Ayuk. Now, this ball is certainly thrown a little bit more to the inside than Ayuk is anticipating. But what I do like about it is Love recognizes, okay, I got to get out of here. I got to turn. As soon as I'm threatened deep, I've got to turn and get some depth because of the matchup that they've offered here. Again, he played a lot of corner in college. Do I think that he could play outside corner in the NFL? No, that's not in fact what I'm saying here. What I'm offering is when he's at a situational weakness or deficit, in this case matched up against a high caliber receiver in the slot like Ayuk, he's got the wherewithal and the awareness to understand, let me take away the deep route and at least ensure that I don't give up a big play. This is something that Love does, I think, on every single snap of the film that I've watched of him in the last 2 years. And that's just hustle and show immense effort to try to get to the football. It's a tight split by Ayuk up to the top side here. And again, the spot shadow pre-snap is every situation is going to be on Julian Love. So he's going to be covering the running back out into the flats initially. You can see he's matching McCaffrey's width. And then the pass concept that I drew up has a vertical clear out route essentially by the tight end. And then Ayuk running this route underneath. And the quarterback, Purdy, is going to get this ball in front of the corner and over the top of the linebacker level. There is Julian Love on the completion, not involved with the target at all. But if you're a Seahawks fan, a dedicated one at least, you obviously know what's coming up. Great hustle to knock this ball out. And then Reek Woolen recovers it just before going out of bounds. I think during a loss in San Francisco in 2023. Same play from the end zone angle, mind you. You can see Love this time spot shadowed. There is Ayuk on the right-hand side of our screen, and he's going to be the targeted receiver. McCaffrey's route takes Love out into the flats, and he just doesn't buy a ticket, meaning he doesn't stand around and watch. He goes and flows to the football. Tight completion outside of the linebacker over the top and then in front of the corner, and Love is the guy that recovers. I love this strip. These are the types of things that they don't show up on paper as a coach drawing plays up. But they say hustle is unpredictable, and we've got a perfect example or illustration of it here. I didn't really scout college football players back when Julian Love came out of Notre Dame in the draft, so I didn't. This was my first real exposure to who he was. This is a 2022 game. He's of course still on the New York Giants. Baltimore went into New York and essentially blew a game courtesy of this really bad interception thrown by Lamar Jackson here. Nonetheless, you have to give Julian Love credit for it. Pat Ricard, the fullback / tight end for the Ravens, appears to be open, and Lamar thinks he has the ability to get the football in there. Love is just a guy you cannot make these throws or these plays around if you're off balance and if you don't have your full lower body weight to get into the throw. You can see the ball just hangs out too much in the air. Love is able to go and get it. He's been a turnover machine at times for the Giants and Seattle. And he's also someone that, in my opinion, I think is effective against the run. Against Detroit here, 2023, from covering so many Lions games the last two plus seasons, I should say, there's not too many guys that tackle Jahmyr Gibbs one-on-one, number one. And then there's also not too many guys who can do so, too many safeties who do so after taking on a starting caliber offensive lineman like Jackson here, the guard that's since moved on to the Chargers and then now back in the Lions division with the Chicago Bears. Love is going to get away from the block and then get involved with tackling Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah, it's out towards the sideline. He's just a guy that shows up no matter where you put him, no matter where he's lined up, no matter where the ball goes. Julian Love is a guy that shows up and he brings some attitude with him when he arrives. 2023 again. This one is against the Cleveland Browns, that aforementioned game that I talked about earlier on where he had the pick, the Jamal Adams helmet, I believe, deflected in the air. So it's a toss play into the boundary, again, where Julian Love is usually lined up, and you can see that he's signaling something. You'll get the end zone angle. He's signaling something to his teammates. I'm sure he's saying something out loud. What I like about this play the most is it's a little bit of a fold scheme on the pin pull pitch. The tight end is who works out to him. And Julian Love doesn't just accept the block. Look where the line of scrimmage is here. It's the 37. And When Love takes on the tight end's block, it's Harrison Bryant. He takes his cleats and puts them in the ground and drives Bryant back. You can see Love has established the line of scrimmage with his back foot, his rear foot at the line, the 37, and his right foot, his outside foot, almost all the way back at the 39-yard line. He gets credit for the tackle, rightfully so, if you ask me, because he does make first contact. It is a 4.5 yard gain for the running back. Like I said, it's a pin pull pitch. So they're pinning down with one of the tight ends, and then the tight end that Love ends up taking on is Harrison Bryant. He loops to the outside. So does one of the offensive linemen. Pin pull pitch or toss in this case. I like Love's strike. There are times where he seems to get his strike up near the neck of offensive linemen or tight ends. He's violent and physical. He's not just accepting the block and accepting being allowed to be blocked. I also like that he's running his feet here, able to replant, get his cleats in the ground, and jump back inside for the tackle. Like I said, it does end up being a 4.5 yard gain. If you're a Seahawks fan and you want to support my content in any way, or at least the time that I try to put into these things, I do have a Seahawks Discord. You're welcome to join. There's a link to my Patreon that's in the description for all of my videos. I'll post it up as well during the live stream here. If you're interested in supporting me, it's about $5 per month. You can join the Seahawks Discord, which allows you access to a private chat between myself and any other Seahawks fans that's independent of any trolls or anyone who's a non-Seahawks fan and might try to bring some negativity to the situation. Love doesn't have much usage as a blitzer that often, at least, but I do think he's effective at it. Additional to this is against Matt Stafford and the Rams in 2023. He's the guy who gets the pressure here on this third down. He's always communicating pre-snap. I watched two different situations where players were mic'd up for Seattle in the last couple of years, one of which he was mic'd up. I believe it was against the Steelers late in the 2023 season, and one of them from 2024 was someone else who was mic'd up. But there was constant communication from Julian Love to his teammates, generally to the edge defender. And in this case here, he's pointing at the tight end. For whatever reason, tight end ends up chipping him, and then he's left alone with the running back. The violence with which he plays is notable to me for being a safety who he doesn't appear to be used as a blitzer extremely often, in my opinion. Finally, we get two clutch plays against the Philadelphia Eagles from 2023 at a pair of interceptions, one of which that sealed the game. Love is once again lined up as the boundary side safety. If you're unfamiliar with that designation or that term, a boundary side is to the short side away from the hash. In this case, the Eagles have the ball on the left hash. The field side or the wide side of the field would be down here to the bottom side of our screen. Love generally is lined up into the boundary. You're getting this kind of climb concept by the slot to the field and a dig deeper in cut by the X receiver into the boundary. I love the way that he's able to track the football here. Love has got great ball skills, number one, but also just great body control. So the interception, the finish here is exquisite, right? The ability to catch this ball with contact in the end zone in that situation at home, like I said, against Philly, is awesome example of his athleticism. But to me, the true greatness of this play occurs from between the 25 and the 30 and down to about the 10, is his ability to run, track the receiver, understand that the ball, okay, it must be in the air, and then turn his head to now look for it. A great example of what so many people talk about turning your head and looking for the ball. And in this case here, I will give the end zone angle. Forgive me for the film if it's a little bit choppy. A great example of the body control, the proprioceptive skills that he has to be able to run in one direction and turn his body, baseball turn, if you will, back in the other way. Kind of is occurring right here. You won't really catch him at all until he's starting to turn his helmet. But to be able to run with the receiver and then turn his helmet, I mean, they practice this, right, every day, don't get me wrong. Turn his helmet, turn his body, but continue running with the receiver, obviously getting his outside arm there is a great interception that was really only topped by his one that was later in the game in the fourth quarter, I think, to seal the victory. Once again, lined up into the boundary, this time the ball on the right hash for the Eagles, and this brilliant interception of a ball intended for A.J. Brown against Trey Brown, ironically. Now, Love ends up pushing to center field. So he's lined up as a half-field safety. You can see two safeties lined up. He ends up pushing to center field and then tracks all the way over, shows his range, if you will, With the ball on the right hash, he's now in the middle of the formation. He's quote in the middle of the field since his feet is on the right hash, exactly where the midline was for the ball. Great ability to go get this football, and again, the body control to get the interception and toe tap his foot in bounds. I'll give you the end zone angle so you can see it to confirm. If you're a Seahawks fan, you really don't need to see that play replayed. It's iconic. You don't need to see it to know what happens. It's iconic at this point from a Julian Love standpoint. I think he's been underappreciated, and even by myself. Like I said, prior to him signing in Seattle, I really didn't know a lot about him until that game in 2022 when Baltimore went up into New York and really wasted an opportunity to get a win that they should have been able to get. Julian Love was a part of the comeback for the Giants in finishing the Ravens off that day. He's an I think, under-recognized player for a Seattle team that, in my opinion, is set up to succeed and hopefully win the division in 2025. Besides the versatility and the production from a pass defense standpoint and interceptions and turnovers, you're talking about a guy who plays pretty much every snap of every game. In the last 4 seasons, Julian Love has played 17 games in 3 of those years. In fact, unfortunately, he only has one Pro Bowl recognition in his career. I think it was from 2023, in fact, but he's got 100 tackles in 3 consecutive years, pushing 520 plus tackles in a 6 year career. Still only 7 years old with 12 career interceptions, 40 PDs, like I mentioned earlier, along with 6 career forced fumbles. I think this is a borderline criminally underrated guy. It was good to see him get some recognition. Feel free to let me know if you think he was too highly rated or not rated high enough in the ESPN survey that I recognize or that I mentioned earlier in this video. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number one. Number two, if you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy it as well, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media somewhere to help this content get more reach.